I'm very happy to be here. I'll speak a little bit about human augmentation, speech analytics, and our product, but I also want to take the first couple of minutes to talk about the why. Why is this important, and how does this fit into the bigger picture? Maybe a quick background. So I wanted to do something with speech because for me it's fascinating. It's one of the key elements that makes humanity. If you think about what makes humans, it's our brain, it's our hands as tool, and it's our speech. Now if you think, and I wanted to build a software that basically helps people to communicate better with each other. Because how many times did you have a topic, or we heard it in a company or in private, yeah, we had a communication issue. I heard this nearly everywhere. But then it's very broad, so the question was where to focus, and I remembered with my last company that was running rebate networks, which at a certain point of time was pretty big. We had 10,000 people in 30 countries before we sold the company to Google, to Amazon, and parts we took public. And out of these 10,000 people, I had 2,500 telesales agents, and they drove me crazy because they did everything but what I wanted them to do. So I thought this is a very good starting point. You have a very concrete business problem. It's, if you do it in sales and customer support, it's close to like the buying the product, so probably you have companies that would be willing to pay for it. That was a little bit the background. So what are key drivers of today's world for companies? We're in hyper competition. There are substitutes for most products. Transparency increases everywhere, and there's a real big question: how do you actually get and stay competitive? Also, we're not slowing down. Acceleration is, oh sorry, maybe I should stand here. Acceleration is increasing quite a bit. I want one chart that or one number that I found, or a few that are very impressive, is our medical knowledge over the last 1950 doubled every 50 years. Next year, our medical knowledge will double every 73 days. And it's not going to slow down. Also, if you look at inventions, 99% of inventions of the world have not happened in the past 5,000 years, but will happen in the next 50 years. So if you think it's fast now, we're actually moving very slow compared to what's happening in the next few years. Now, the new age, no more jobs. Nearly every day in the newspapers you read there will be no more jobs. And obviously AI is the big driver behind it. Is that true, and what can we do? Yes, it's true, we have a job crisis. But you know what? It's a reversed one currently. There are too many jobs and too few people that can fill them. And if you look back in the discussion in the 90s, it's really interesting. Newspapers were full, robots will take away the jobs, no more jobs, will be all unemployed. Reality is what happened, yes, we have lots of robots. And there's very nice data from OECD, which is harmonized around the countries. And you see, I just picked a few ones, but there is a very strong correlation. The more robots, the more automation, the more technology you have, the lower your unemployment, and vice versa. Totally contradiction to what happened, what was predicted 20 years ago. There were millions of hours spent discussion why we're all going to run out of jobs in the 90s. It was all not true. In the public discussion today, there are two main, I think, assumptions and questions. We say the work we do today is limited. We just assume there's a certain amount of work. But then what would happen, and I've heard this question a few times, what would happen if we automate everything that's done today? Would we not have any more work? I think there would be plenty of work. And actually, if you think about like what we could do with the spare time, with the creativity, if you think about hospitals, nursing homes, there's so much work to be done that would be really great. The next one is, and that's a little bit a scary thought, I think, we assume that natural evolution will stop, which means humans will stay at their current intelligence and capability level. So there was an evolution where the humans, we assume, is now the ultimate game that's not going to change. Why should that be the case? Why should evolution not continue? And with all the technology, why shouldn't it accelerate dramatically? From augmentation, from improvement, from bionics to evolution, from gene editing, everything that we hear. Why should we stay at our current level? So I think the right questions to ask, or the better questions, is short term, yes, there will be some unemployment buckets in certain sectors and locations. And we need to think about what can we do about that. Also in the past, if you had a car factory and then you applied some robots, yes, there was, for a certain amount of time, there was more unemployment before. And the midterm is, will machines and humans eventually merge to a level where distinction is no more possible? And you can discuss, is it 20 years, 50 years, 100 years, but so far I had a hard time, if I just rationally think what's happening in all the different areas in the medical world, in the software world, not see how we're more and more merging these two together, and then maybe we're creating a new species. And that's like the thoughts I think are probably much more relevant and realistic than the current discussion. Winners and losers. In the end, personally, I think it's very, very simple. More AI, higher productivity, more jobs. And the true winners, and this I think we have a very hypocritical discussion here in Germany and in other countries, the true winners are the high-tech nations, and the really big losers, I think, will be the third world countries would have not reached an industrialization level that we have it currently. And the reason is because if you automate a lot of basic production like T-shirts, etc., you will have a very hard time, like creating these, for example, clothing manufacturing shops where then the company step by step can work itself up, because that will be gone. And then you increase the gap between the developed nations and the developing nations. So what do you do with it? And that's one of the reasons why I also founded this company. So there's a lot of discussion about both worlds, human or machine. And I think it's really both together. So it's the human-machine hybrid. And the great thing is basically AI brings job promotions to everybody who applies it without having to work for it. And that's the idea behind our company. So how has customer communication on the phone looked in the past? You had lots of people, sometimes you have tens of thousands of people who are on the phone speaking with your customers. And then you randomly monitor them, you listen in, or after they have been recorded, you listen to them and then try to give feedback. Very limited amount, maybe 1 to 3% of the calls you can give feedback on. It's very actually also hard work to do this. Now what we do is we record every call. So every single call is recorded, is analyzed, so we can then extract information and give personalized coaching and best practices. How do we do this? We integrate into the telco systems. We then take the speech data, and the speech, we send it to the cloud. We have developed our own automatic speech recognition system, so to translate speech into text and into other elements. We then kind of break these calls up into millions of data points, analyze it, and then send the information back to in this case, the call center or service agent, and give them real-time feedback. So that was always very important for me. The question, provide actionable information during a call, not after, because then you can't change anything, but during a call where you can still make some changes. And what we try to focus really on 3 key elements. I think to view everything together is very important. So the agent themselves, but then also the supervisors, the team leads, and the managers. And only if you have the buy-in of all 3 of them, you will get good results. And that's also something we've learned. It's great if you build some very specific AI, but we said we want one that really connects the whole, in a way, flow of information and line of command, because if I just try to tailor to the manager, if I just try to tailor to the agent, nothing is really going to change. What's great about it is the human agents now get real-time coaching and training. By the way, over 40% of people who work in service or sales say they quit. Of the people who quit, 40% they say they quit because they received too little training. They say they feel they would love to do a good job, but they can't do because the companies doesn't enable them. It's one of the core things. It's not just for managers. It's not just for like business people. It's in every area and very much there. Sometimes it's crazy if you think about it. You have like people hired. Day 2, they are on the phone. You pay hundreds of euros per lead, and they're on the phone. They don't know what to say, how to pitch your company, how to sell your product, and then it's no interest. 200 euros out the window. No interest 5 minutes later. 200 euros. Bam, bam, bam. Like you burn money like crazy by not giving them the right tool set. And that's a really huge problem. So that's what we try. But then also for the supervisors, if your job is to listen to bad phone call conversation the whole day, that's not a very nice job. It's actually nearly sometimes like punishment. So now what we do is we take this really hard piece out, we provide them the data, so that then they can look at the data, they have this, and then spend their time on coaching and not listening to bad calls. And then the third one, the managers, they get in real time all the KPIs. So for the first time, they really can do a fact-based management, react fast, also see how it's working. This all, obviously, it took some time to develop. Very happy about our investors that supported us. One of them, Holzbrink, to enable us to really invest into technology. Majority of the people are engineers at our companies. We have to build multiple levels of technology. So first from the integration side, which is pretty complex if you think about how many telco systems that are out there. Then from the whole AI, where obviously we have a big, strong one in speech. But then if you have the speech itself and the bodies, it doesn't help you. You also need a big BI data department, machine learning that you put on top of it to try to understand what's happening there. Then the whole back end, front end, you need to make it like the UI, UX in a way that actually people appreciate it. You're interfering in their daily work. They already have tons of software systems, so we're putting another there. So quite a complex product. Here a demo, sorry, I think I just saw, unfortunately, the text and overlay is in German, but the background is in English, I think.
Hi.
Can you make it louder?
Gespräch beinhaltet wertvolle Daten. Um diese zu analysieren und richtig zum Einsatz zu bringen, entwickelt i2X eine neue Lösung für Sprachanalyse und Coaching. Die 3 Grundbausteine der i2X-Software erlauben es, Anrufe aufzunehmen, zu transkribieren und in Echtzeit zu analysieren. Dadurch kann i2X den Agenten am Telefon bereits während des Gesprächs automatisch Tipps geben. Durch die automatische Anonymisierung der durch künstlichen Intelligenz getriebenen Transkription können die Daten aber auch im Nachgang verwendet werden. So wird es ganz einfach möglich, Trends zu erkennen oder nach bestimmten Schlagworten zu suchen, um Zeit zu sparen und gleich die wichtigen Themen in Ihren Kundeninteraktionen zu erkennen. Durch die i2X-Software kann man alle Gespräche am Telefon durchleuchten und wirklich datengetriebene Geschäftsentscheidungen treffen. Auch die Dashboards, die alle Informationen übersichtlich und aggregiert aufzeigen, werden in Echtzeit aktualisiert. Sie unterstützen das Management und den Agenten darin, Best Practices schneller zu erkennen, Konvertierungsraten zu steigern und Kunden durch einen ausgezeichneten Service glücklicher zu machen. Das ist i2X, Ihre Lösung für Echtzeit-Sprachanalyse und Coaching.
Yeah, so that's a little bit an outlook what we're currently doing. Obviously, we're working on a lot more. And what my topic was to come back to the before, to augmentation. I'm a big fan. Automate as much as possible, because I really believe there will be always enough work. Reality is, if you look at the companies, the problems they have, and where technology is today, you still are very, very far away in most of the areas with customer interaction that you can automate 100%. And it's great if you say, hey, I have a speech computer or something, and in 50% of the cases it's working great, or 60%, but then actually in 40% of the cases, the customer is very unhappy, you get very bad results. It took you 15 minutes to talk with them, you repeat stuff over and over again, and then just to figure to not get the result. So The best combination is for me is like to try like take the resources they have and really make them learn faster, have better interactions, and that way increase productivity. And then again, the coach, the agent, the manager. And so what we do, we basically make a data asset that couldn't be used and analyzed, suddenly analyzable and actionable. We can derive a lot of best practices from it, and then that results in automatic and personalized training on the job. And I just heard, and what's really great is, last week I was speaking with the manager of a large call center, and he said, like, in the past I had big, like, people who normally I would have let to go, and then there are the ones who don't want to do this and who are bad performers. You have to let them go. But then there are the ones who can't do it yet because they haven't the knowledge, and these ones you can really help. So we help people to keep their jobs and actually not to replace them because we augment. That's it. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Michael. Opening for questioning. We have a microphone. We have to wait. Sorry.
Yes, hello. So we also tested a similar use case, so speech to text, analyze the text, and do some agent coaching. But due to Austrian dialects, this use case failed dramatically. So how can you overcome this hurdle of dialects and accents and so on?
Yeah, that's certainly an issue. So the question is how strong the dialect is, and indeed, if you look from a speech analytics perspective, Austrian then is quite different to regular Hochdeutsch, or do you say High German? And in the end, it's you need to train them. I mean, you can build the speech analytics for it. Unfortunately, in this case, it's an economic decision, and then the question is, do I rather push my English system or my German system, or do I develop something in like, let's say, Austrian Deutsch or in Schweizerdeutsch? And so far, I think most companies I know have always then taken the other approach. So that's why it's for a lot of, it's actually, I have also, we sometimes receive calls from smaller countries, smaller languages, say, what do we have to do? Can you provide us the solution? I have to tell them then, unfortunately, look, maybe in a few years' time, but I don't know. I can't develop a tailored, I don't know, Romanian, Swedish, whatever version. It's a small market.
A quick question. The demo you showed us a full UI for the agent. And I was just wondering, do you also have an integration, for example, for the regular standard CRM, such as Salesforce Service Cloud or so on?
Yes, so that was actually a demo version to show it. The normal, regular product looks very different. So you just have actually, you have your regular CRM, and then there's just a very tiny box that sits in the corner that then gives information to the agent. That was just a little bit to demo and to show you what the different parties can do. This is not how our customer product looks like.
I have two questions, like one on the one side, how do you, what's your long-term vision, especially like in competition with services like Google Duplex, and what's your unique like technology, like do you build on top of some other technology, or what makes it unique, and like where's your moat kind of against other solutions that are better capitalized, for example?
That's a very good question. So first of all, if you look into the different use cases, I mean, what Google does is we tries to build a one-size-fits-all solution, and we are very focused on certain use cases, certain companies, and try to build the best solution in the world there. And if you look in history, how many times have large companies, incumbents, no matter in which area, dominated a new sector versus small startups that are super focused? I personally would say the bet is more on the startup side than it's on the incumbent side. And personally, I'm a lot less scared or afraid of the large companies. I have a lot more, if you want so, how to say, I would say, not panic, but always you have to be attuned and be really careful about other startups. That's where I think the biggest danger is from. And that's like always repeating itself. Because all these large companies, they have so many priorities. Yes, theoretically, they have lots of people, they have lots of money, but then a lot of these very special projects, they just put 2, 3, 5, maybe 10 people on it. They start at 9 or 10 at best. They have a long break. They go home at 5. On the weekends, they also don't think about this stuff. So that's, and then what you can build about it, my vision is really to build this human augmentation level, like really like a piece of software that upgrades you as a human and helps you to better communicate and at whatever you do a better job. And we start very focused in certain areas.
So I think we can take one more question and then we continue.
And on the technology, the other question? Well, the question is you develop better, over time you collect very specialized data. We just select very unique data, very unique use cases where nobody else has access to. And we build software and special algorithms around it. And the longer we do this, the harder it will be for others to kind of copy this in these fields.
One more question, and I think Michael will be around later on.
Thank you for the good talk. And isn't it the next step, or is it logically the next step to automate the call itself? Because there's like bad versions of this in the US and so on. And wouldn't it be natural to just not have a human in the call anymore, but learn how to do it automatically, basically?
Yes, you can automate more and more, absolutely. The question is, how long will this take? And if you look at a lot of companies or a lot of use cases, even something that for humans is perceived standard, for machines it's still not. And there's a slight deviation and suddenly everything breaks. And then nowadays customers are very valuable. You don't want to lose them. In the age of social media, if you do this too much, you suddenly have a huge shit show around, and you saved a little bit on the automation part, but the brand damage is enormous. And because of that competition, one of the key areas where companies still can differentiate is actually service. So service has been moved more and more from a cost center to a profit center. And personally, I see more the actually opposite direction. Yes, opposite part, but then they're thinking like, how can we deliver an even better experience? How actually can we put explicitly human agents so that they deliver the best possible customer experience and a real wow effect to once they call? So I still, in reality, it's still quite a bit out until you can automate everything.
Cool. Thank you very much,
Michael.
Michael.
Thank you very much.